Is it out of batteries?
No, it's just like really hard to get you and the game in the shot.
I mean, no, you don't have to always get me in the game. Is it going?
Yeah.
Hey, so it's been a while since I've done a review, and it's because I've been traveling, and now I am in Denmark, and I'm actually at the famous Bastard Cafe. I'm not kidding, that's what it's called. I can't. This place is incredible. I've been to a lot of board game bars and cafes, and this one is, there's just something about this place, and it made me feel like, alright, I need to do another review. And I want to do a review about a game that we've been playing lately, which is King Domino. And you may have heard of this game because it was nominated for Spiel des Jahres for this year. And it's a very good game. I actually picked up in Sweden at an amazing board game shop there called Kingslayer, and super cool place, amazing selection of games. The guy was able to convince me that in my limited bags that this was something I should carry around, and it's been awesome. We've been playing it on trains. We were staying with a friend in Ängelholm, and it's incredible. And why is it incredible? Well, once again, this is the post-review review show, so I'm not going to over-explain the game about how you place this incredibly cute little castle. I can't even express how cute this castle is, and build an incredibly cute little kingdom out of it. It's based on dominoes, so it's based on the idea that you link these things up and then it's multiplicative from that point. So it's crowns and, you know, type, right? So this is worth 3 times 2, so this is worth 6 points. And it is so much fun because what happens is, one of the best things about this game is how simple the system is, that you place these out in order and then flip them and then bid. If you can't hear me very well, I apologize. It's clearly very crowded in here because a lot of people are playing awesome games, and that's amazing. And so we might not even be able to get anything out of this, but we're just gonna go with it. So back to the thing here, right? So you put these out. It's such a simple system where you take your little Princess Peaches, say we're playing with these 3 colors, and they choose, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. And this is interesting because when you flip these over, this is not a great example, this will always be a better value than the top 2, which means that these people who got somewhat worse tiles will get their pick of the next thing, right? And this guy is forced to take this. It's such a simple system. This is so well balanced, and the fact that it's multiplicative is interesting because it means that every game really is different. I've seen people win on making a giant field of sheep, and I've seen people win on diversifying, and because you never know exactly what's going to happen, and every game is different. As a 2-player game, it's actually a very cutthroat, very analytical. You actually each play with 2 pawns, and so there's a lot more strategy happening in terms of how you arrange these things. And then in a 3-player game, there's only 3 out at a time, and so that is a very different sort of, movement. And then in a 4-player game is nice because you'll actually see every single one of these tiles, which means that in the back of the rule book here, you know how many are in the game, and so in a 4-player game, you're going to see every single one. And so, I mean, every 4 players is different, then 3 players is different than 2 players, and there's really a lot going on in this game. So let me just say that I totally understand why I was nominated for Spiel des Jahres, because it's great, and as other people have said, I don't understand why nobody came up with the domino idea before. It's simple and elegant, yet has depth for gamers. I've seen people describe it as like a filler game. It's not quite a filler game. It's not quite an intro game. I'm not quite sure what it is. it's something that is really satisfying. It's addictive. You want to play it again and again. Yet for me, there's something. I still want it to be a little bit more than it is, right? It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Carcassonne, and I was going to do my typical thing where I like bring out another game and talk about Carcassonne, but there's like 3 or 4 copies of Carcassonne in this cafe, and they're all checked out, which just goes to show so I can't do that. So just imagine I'm holding Carcassonne. But that just goes to show what an amazing game Carcassonne is. In some ways, Carcassonne is a better intro game, is a bit more of a gamer's game for multiple players. There's a little bit more Euro, a little bit more worker placement happening. I mean, this is simpler and more elegant. I mean, you're just building a little kingdom, right? You're seeing how everything goes together and making it work. Whereas Carcassonne has got a little bit, I mean, it is a classic for a reason, but it doesn't play quite as well as this does at 2 players. On the other hand, if you're looking for a really good 2-player game that involves this kind of spatial reasoning, in some ways, if I was just playing 2 players, I would want to play Patchwork instead, which is just also an incredible game, very similar box size, not that really matters, that's gorgeous, and in some ways is a superior 2-player game. You get to place patches, and it's just it offers the same kind of addictive quality. And so no, that's not a thing you could do. And so if you're looking for a 2-player game, I would probably recommend Patchwork before I recommended Kingdomino, which is actually the guy at the store. He recommended this first, and I told him I already owned it. He recommended Kingdomino. Yet there's still something about this game that's neither of those games and is special in its own right. We were able to play this game with my wife and I, who's the one holding the camera as always, and her friend and her friend's 6-year-old daughter. We were able to play together, and I consistently lost this game. Even though there's luck in this game, certainly skill wins out. And I know that because I don't win it very often. It just goes to show that people can be better at it. And there's something amazing about a game where I can play as a gamer competitively and lose to a 6-year-old who doesn't quite understand multiplication yet. Not because I was going easy on her. And keep in mind, she's very quick and a good gamer, but it's like she understood implicitly, okay, more crowns are better, and fitting, crowns of a type is better. She was able to improve quickly in this game, and she didn't win the game, but she beat me, right? In a 4-player game, she beat me, and she felt so satisfied doing that. And that's incredible. It's also, for some crowds and for many people, in some ways, this game is going to be, based on the fact that it's adorable, the artwork is amazing, just from the little sheet to, this is my favorite tile, it's like it's gorgeous, and it's actually going to be easier to get to the table than Carcassonne or Patchwork, right? You could actually probably get your significant other to play this before you got her to play, or him, to play Patchwork, unless they were super into quilting, in which case I absolutely recommend you go with Patchwork. So there's just something special about this game, but it's not a filler either. You're not just flipping tiles and it's like whatever. I mean, there are decisions you get to make. The whole way in which the numbers relate to the choices that you get to make, it's quite excellent, and it's more than a filler. It's a very good 15-minute game that you can get the whole family to sit down and play. But while we're talking about really good games, you can get the whole family to sit down and play, that were nominated for Spiel des Jahres, while I'm in Copenhagen, I have to also just give a shout out to Magic Maze, which we just played today, and is by a game designer here in Copenhagen, and is incredible. It's a cooperative game, it has a timed element, and I love it. I haven't played it enough to give it a solid review, which I think it deserves, but I can't not mention it because I'm here at this amazing place. And so check it out if you get a chance. Definitely at least play Kingdomino, but it might not be ready for your collection, or you might not be ready for it. I mean, if you already own Carcassonne, you already own Patchwork, and you already own other games games, I mean, you really have to ask yourself, do I need this right now? Do I need a 10 to 15 minute game, tile laying game that is fun for the whole family, but maybe if you're the gamer, is going to be, you're going to wish it was just a little bit more. And it's not because it should be more, it is exactly what it should be, but you're going to want it to be more. You're going to want to do something with those fields. You're going to, you know, it's the perfect weight, and yet it's not a heavy game. And so if you want a heavy game, it's like that. But if you're looking for a game that you can play with a pretty broad age group, or if you're just playing with a broad player ability and you want those people to improve, and I mean, you could see a lot of growth in a player here, which is more than you can say about a lot of games of this weight. So
they went from like Uno to getting like the highest scores we've ever seen.
In this game, we were able to see people, as my wife is mentioning, you were able to see people go from loving Uno to beating the pants off us in this game. And that's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is, in this game, it's not just a lightweight game. It has a lightweight point of entry that offers players growth into gaming. And yes, Carcassonne does that as well in its own way, but not the point of entry is not as I don't want to say low, because that makes it seem bad, or you know, like it's diminutive, but it's not as accessible as this. And yet, due to the very simple laws of multiplication, there's an incredible amount of growth that's available. It's a very, very good game, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, if you're playing with mixed group, if you're looking for a game that's easy to get to the table and sits there for 20 minutes, and people, and I can't emphasize this enough, will ask to play it again, right? It's great.